of Indonesia, you hardly ever use a chili in cooking. So the fact, it can be, it's like, you know, when you come to America, you go and have a McDonald's. When you go to McDonald's, you eat French fries, and you have a little bit of tomato ketchup, or you stick the French fries in it. You go to Japan, you have a sushi sashimi, you have a little bit of wasabi and soy sauce, you stick yourself in it. You go to Germany, you take a sausage, a bit of mustard. You come to Indonesia, we have a sambal tomat. Sambal means sauce, which is a very spicy sauce. And very often, this you add as a condiment, but the actual dish itself is not very spicy. What I like to show you very quickly now, the basic principles. What we have done now, the first thing we always do when we go into a kitchen in Indonesia or in Bali, we take a whole lot of spices like we have here now. Mama Bali, she would put them into a stone mortar, grinds them, and these spice mixes we call a bumbu. So pretty much every cooking process starts with a blend of spices. What we have done now over the years, we divided the spice paste into 5 different categories. What I want to show you today is the spice paste for seafood. So very quickly, we'll put this together, hopefully this machine works, and then I'll show you what the next step then is, the way we can use the spice paste to create these various dishes. So spice paste number 1 is for fish and seafood. Number 2 is for meats with strong flavors. Pork, duck, lamb. 3 for chicken, 4 for beef, 5 for vegetables. And interesting enough, when you talk about vegetables, vegetables is pretty much one of the strongest, most powerful spice pastes we actually use. Again, another thing I always mention when people come to Bali and want to buy spices, in Balinese cooking, it is actually only one single dry spice that we use in Balinese cooking, and that is coriander. Pretty much everything else is fresh, and that includes nutmeg. How many of you have ever seen a nutmeg? The little nutmegs you can buy here in the shops. You've got the nut, the brown thing, which is dry and very, very hard, right? We get it, it's still in the shell, like you buy a walnut, which still comes in the shell. It prevents the inside from drying out. And when I do the cooking classes, we always say, our recipes, they say 5 pinches of nutmeg. We're not going to use 5 pinches, but we're going to use 5 whole nutmegs. I've read anywhere, in many, many places, I've read a nutmeg, and that's what they told us at school as well. In large quantities, it's actually poisonous. You know what nobody ever told us? What quantity? So how much is too much? Well, in the Caribbean, apparently they mix it with milk and they start to trip. No such thing. I've heard it somewhere. Anyway, let's go. I've got this funny time. I've got 8 minutes left. Anyway, coming down to the spices, very quickly we go through. Start with chilies. Large red chilies. The other thing, can I be a little bit naughty what I say now? I have to be careful, otherwise they're going to run after me. I honestly think the freshness, I mean, it's because we're here in the Napa Valley. How can you expect the chili is fresh? I mean, I haven't used the chili that old for years. Pretty much everything, and this is what most people totally underestimate, what is absolutely incredible in the way we can cook. Everything we cook is fresh. I've got 2 guys, they do purchasing 7 days a week at the market. The chili I buy back in Bali, it was harvested today in the mountains, consolidated on pickup trucks. Next morning I buy it at the market and I use it the day after. So pretty much all the ingredients which we can use are harvested within 24 hours. How many of you have ever had the joy of eating a fresh banana? How old are they? I mean a banana which grew ripe on a tree, not one which came out of a gas chamber and ripened over months. Unbelievable. So let's put all this together. We put all the spices into it. Again, chilies. Everyone always says that we remove the seeds. Why do we remove the seeds?
Yes.
Sorry? What? Harold McKee is not here, right? He explains it as well. How many of you have Harold McKee? How many people read it? I've asked so many people back in the kitchen, students as well. They all got the book. I don't know what they do. They put them on the bookshelf. They don't read them. It's not the seed. What I've learned as well, it's not the seed that is what it's the placenta, or the actual membrane where the seed is attached to the chili. That is the really hot part. So that we want to get rid of. But what I've learned is, well, if I leave the seeds in it, sauces tend to get bitter, so not very nice. Shallots, little red onions. We always recommend in the West, if you can't get it here as a substitute, use Spanish onions, the red ones. But never ever would replace them with the regular white onions. Another thing, you have to be careful. That's what I always say to our guests. So when you take the recipes from us in Bali home, you must keep in mind everything you get in Bali is very, very mild. I mean, how often do we come across garlic, which is so horrible, rotten, powerful, and pungent? Everything is mild. So sometimes the recipes, our recipes, they will ask for 100 grams. Like here, maybe 75 or 50 is enough. So you go in with a little bit of the garlic, ginger, easy to find back here. What else? Candle nuts. Surprise, surprise. I was really surprised that they had absolutely no problems to get candle nuts. A lot of other parts, people, they're a little bit, they never heard about it. Good substitutes would make raw peanuts without the skin, or if you ever had the chance to get raw almonds. Then comes my favorite, which is of course turmeric. In goes tomatoes. Well, a couple of things. Another thing which, a little bit of salt, not too much salt goes in after. Then I have tamarind. You're all familiar with tamarind. It's a fruit, pods the size of a finger. You crack them open. That's the pulp. You have to soak them a little bit in warm water. Then we've got this one here. In goes an oil. Preferred in Bali, they often use coconut oil. You have to be a little bit careful with coconut oil. Coconut oil can get very, very quickly rancid. Water goes in. Now, good luck. Let's see whether I can get this. What I have to do. It actually, something happens. Anyway, what we do now is we go a step further. I don't have much to go. So this is basically the spice paste. Goes into the blender. We have to blend it very, very fine. And then what comes out, now I have to go quick, we don't have much time. And then what comes out is basically something like this. However, what I've done now, I brought this with me from Bali. We have, over the years, we had numerous requests where people said, well, can you produce the spice paste, we take them home. So it took us many, many years to figure that out, how to do it. We found ways to actually sun dry it. And so I brought that with me. Okay, let's do very quickly a couple prawns. For these prawns now, a couple prawns go in it. I use a little bit of this spice paste, which then would be this one here, goes in a pan, you cook it. You marinate them a little bit. If I had a knife, I bought a knife to this. Knives in the kitchen. We even had to buy a grate to make a little bit of lime juice, little bit of salt, give that a good mix. Next thing now, is a big pan. Let me see whether I can get this started. And again, to do the dishes, what we do, a little bit oil goes inside the pan. And it goes straight in. I just have to take a little bit of fast version. This is a little bit of the pan, a little bit like you do Indian cooking. Then I have chicken stock, put a little bit of the stock in. Once you've got the spice paste, then the rest is really very, very simple. Give it a good mix, bring it up to boil. Whenever we do this, what I said is that's okay for now. Afterwards, we will have to do it a lot finer than this one. This goes in a pan, you reduce it down until all the liquid has dehydrated. What I always recommend, obviously, to get the spices back home is very labor intensive. divide Balinese cooking in 2 days. Day number 1 you do the spice paste, day number 2 you do the actual cooking. Now this one here, this is day 1. I put them in a pot, I cook them, reduce them down. Once the spice pastes are done, cool it down overnight in the fridge. Little ice cube trays, put them in the freezer, freeze them. Next day take them out. Container, airtight containers, plastic bags, back in the freezer, and then it's really very, very easy. Like this one here, a little bit of, and all this is pretty much the prawns go in. Give it a bit of a pack. Another big difference is in the cooking between Bali and other parts of Indonesia. In Bali, coconut milk goes in a very different way, goes in towards the end, versus in a lot of other parts of Indonesia, coconut milk goes in at the beginning, stays in it, like some of you may have a rendang, and then basically the coconut milk breaks, and then you get these oily dishes, and that's not the case with us in Bali. So give it a good stir. Next thing, I just have to rush a bit of coconut. Again, I'm sure you would find a lot better coconut cream than this one is in this great country, but I have to use whatever is around. Anyway, look, prawns, it takes a minute to warm up. I just reduced the heat a little bit now. You finish the dish, then a couple of tomatoes goes in, warm them up. And what I finish, always maybe a little bit of lime zest. They're fantastic. Good. Good. Squeeze of lime juice. Then you have to taste it, and this is pretty much the essence of the cooking the way we do it in Bali. The blend of spices, once this is done, and as you see now, this one here, you come home from work, it goes really in 2 minutes. Most people, they would say, okay, then we serve this with rice. But hey, if you have a dish like this, what would be wrong with nice fettuccines or farfalle on penne, have a little bit of a pasta, you mix them through. Tremendous. Thank you very much.